I highlight a couple of things about this slide. I highlight the sandals. I invert the timestamp so you can read it properly, and I do the conversion because it's in Zulu time, which is Greenwich Mean Time, which is always 7 hours ahead of Arizona. So you have to do a little conversion to get to 8:48 in the morning.
So that again matches with the GPS data from Charles Vallow's phone showing that his phone was now back on scene.
Correct.
Now, you continued to track the phone for the day.
Yes, so this shows a time span 8:49 to 9. The phone is near the Four Peaks house, as was Alex Cox's device. Advancing a little bit, we see that now Alex's device is up in the area of the Chandler Police Department, and another way that I can check that that appears to be accurate is that I know that he was transported there at about that time.
All right, so we saw, before this went purple, that Lori Vallow's cell phone and Alex Cox's cell phone were in the area of the 5531 South Four Peaks,
Yes,
along with Charles's iPhone.
yes,
And then we see movement of Alex's phone to the Chandler Police Department.
yes, that area where it was at the end of the slide before the animation overpowered the machine was showing a coverage area that includes the Chandler Police Department.
So what are we seeing here then?
Okay, this is just advancing forward through the day, so showing that if you go to the noon hour, then between 12:13 and 12:36, the device moves up to an area by Santan Village Parkway in the 202. And then there is a tower connection with Ms. Vallow's device ending in 9562, showing that device is also in an area served by that tower.
So in this time frame then of 12:30, we see both Charles Vallow's cell phone GPS data and Lori Vallow's cell phone utilizing a cell tower in the area of Santan.
Yes, that's right. So this is again showing the trail of those location data points moving forward in time as Charles Vallow's device is moving roughly east. And you can see also connections made by Lori Vallow's phone and by Alex Cox's phone in similar areas at similar time frames until we get to a point where the device arrives at this house at 1658 East Shari Street in Santan, which I understand to be Mr. Alex Cox's residence at the time.
All right, so the address of 1658 East Shari Street in Santan was Mr. Cox's residence. And now at 1:40 or so, 1:30 to 1:40, we're talking about Charles Vallow's phone sending GPS data that it's in that area.
Yes, that's correct. So now looking at 1342 to 1407, so that's 1:42 to 2:07 p.m. You see multiple tower hits from both of Lori's devices, and you also see persistent GPS location data from Mr. Vallow's device in that same area. Specifically, this call that you're seeing now in the lavender is known to be a call made to Detective Inkland's desk phone.
All right, so we have Lori Vallow in the area of utilizing a cell tower in the area of her brother Alex's house, along with Charles Vallow's iPhone being in that area of his house.
Correct.
And then we see a call to Detective Inkland's desk phone by Ms. Vallow.
That's correct.
And were you aware that Detective Inkland had called Lori to ask them to return to the scene?
I was aware of that.
Were you actually at the scene?
At that time, I don't think so.
Okay. You were there earlier.
That's correct.
So,
No, I'm going to correct that. I was there at that time.
okay. You were still at the
I
scene?
was still at the scene at that time, yes.
2 o'clock.
Yes.
All right, so this next map or slide that we see, what is this time frame we're seeing?
Okay, so this advances just a little bit, so it's 1409 to 1418. Again, we still see red location hits for Mr. Vallow's iPhone. We still see blue for Ms. Vallow's 9562 number, and we see this lavender one come up for her 5452 number. It's an outgoing call to a particular phone number that I know to be associated with the Valley of the Sun mortuary. If you advance to the next slide.
Maybe.
Oh, now you can advance. I was just highlighting the number. This is that same number on their website.
So at go back, at 2:18, Lori
Correct.
Vallow is calling the Valley of the Sun mortuary.
Yes. So here we advance this area. This is going up closer to 243. You'll see location data for the iPhone starts trending westward and is eventually going to arrive again in the area of 5531 South Four Peaks. That's at about 3:11 p.m. when it arrives in that area.
Now, you indicate in one of the icons up there that from 209 to 243, or 1409 to 1443, that you also had noted Lori's, both of her phones associated with her, the Verizon and T-Mobile, as well as Alex's Verizon phone, were initially in the area of Alex's house in Santan, and that sort of throughout that time period, you're saying.
Correct.
And then we see initially Charles's GPS coming back to the residence at 5531 South Four Peaks and arriving there around 2:43.
Arriving there around 3:11.
Right.
Yep, correct.
So we know that because we have to again look at the slide up at the top. That's when it arrives there.
Correct.
After that, did you become aware that Charles Vallow's cell phone was handed over to Detective Enclan?
I did.
And then presented to someone later in your forensics unit to download, extract, so that you could use it for instance, this.
Correct. It was assigned that item number I listed earlier in the report, and then it was submitted for extraction, and that's how I eventually obtained that location data that you've just seen.
Did you look at any other days to do GPS data?
I did not.
Was this day looked at because you were trying to see what was going on with both Miss Vallow, Alex Cox, as well as Charles, and later just his phone?
Yes, specifically, we initially had concerns about the timeline I was initially asked to look at, and I looked at it at that time, noting those issues, which led to recovery of video and things. Is not primarily my case. I was
Ladies and gentlemen, phones need to stay off or you will be asked to leave the courtroom.
as it's not primarily my case. Beyond that, I would have done whatever else I was asked to do, but I wasn't asked to look at other days in this case.
So ultimately, your, what you determined was that the timeline of Lori Vallow leaving when the 911 call was and returning back was not accurate.
Yes, as I understood, based on, again, the multiple different ways now that we're able to corroborate location not only of devices that are relevant, because we knew at this point that she had Charles's phone, we knew numbers for her phones, we have video of her at various places. It led to the inescapable conclusion that either the shooting did not happen that close in time to the 911 call, or that she wasn't there for the shooting. I could not see a third way of interpreting that data.
Thank you. I have no other questions for this witness.